Hello Lana, welcome to today's class. This is a science class. Remember, we are still looking at the human body. In our last class, we looked at the blood vessels and we said that these are the tubes which the blood flows. These are the tubes which transport the blood to various parts of our body. We also looked at the types of blood vessels and we talked of the arteries. We said these are tubes which transport blood away from the heart. The blood in the arteries are usually in high pressure. And we said that the arteries have got the thick walls. They have got the thick walls and the narrow lumen, which helps them to withstand the blood under high pressure. We also looked at the veins and we said the veins carry blood towards the heart. We also looked at the third type of blood vessel, which was the capillaries. And you said that these capillaries, they act as connecting tissues. They connect the veins and the arteries. So today, we are going to look at the heart. We are going to look at the heart. So by the end of this lesson, you should be able to identify and name the parts of the heart and also explain and tell how the blood flows in our body. So let's look at the chart and you want to see the structure of the heart. If you look at this chart here, this is the structure of the heart. This is how the heart is structured. Now, the heart is made up of 4 chambers. The heart is made up of 4 chambers. These are sections, or now the heart is divided. Now, how does these 4 come? Remember, we have got the upper chambers and we also have got the lower chambers. If you look at here, this upper part here, the upper chambers are called the auricles. The upper chambers are called the auricles and the lower chambers are called the ventricles. Now, how does this come to 4? Remember, the auricles, we have got the right auricle and we have got the left auricle. On the upper part, we have got the right auricle and we have the left auricle. When you come down, we have got the right ventricle and we have got the left ventricle. Now, how does this come about? If you face this heart like this, if you face the heart like this, your right becomes the left. Remember that your right becomes the left and your left becomes the right. Your left becomes the right. Please make sure you take note of that. Now, if you look at this heart keenly, you will see that the left ventricle here, is a little bit thicker compared to the right ventricle, of which now we are going to see why is it that this part is thicker than this other part here. We are going to see that. Now, make sure that you are able to identify these parts. Make sure you are able to identify these parts. When it is drawn, you are supposed to know the part and name it very well and identify it. If you look here, this is the vena cava. Remember, the vena cava is the main vein in the body, and we are going to see how does it function. How does it function? This is the main vein in the body. If you come this part here, we have the pulmonary artery. This is an artery, and remember we say that all arteries carry oxygenated blood except pulmonary artery, which carries deoxygenated blood. And we are going to see how does the blood look like and how and where is it being removed. From there we come to aorta. Aorta is the biggest blood vessel. From there we come to the aorta. Then we have the pulmonary vein. We are going to see how does it function. We are going to see that later in this other chart. Then we have got the left auricle and we have the left ventricle. Now this is very important. We should be able to name all these parts and tell their functions. But we are going to understand the functions when we will move to the next chart. Now, just write something. Just write. The heart is made up of 4 chambers. First, let's define what heart is. What is heart? Heart, this is a muscular organ. This is a muscular organ located on the left side of the chest cavity. Now, if you hold your chest, this side is the left side This is where the heart is located. It is located on the left side of the chest. That's where the heart is. Now, the heart of a healthy person, is supposed to, when you are at rest, it's supposed to beat at least 72 times per minute. It is supposed to beat 72 times per minute. So let's say the heart of a healthy person, say, that is very important. The heart of a healthy person is supposed to beat 72 times per minute. 72 times per minute. Make sure you know that, per minute. 72 times per minute. Now, if you hold your chest like this, you will feel a beat. That means that the heart is pumping the blood, and that beat is what we call the pulse rate. That is the pulse rate. That is what we call the pulse rate. Make sure you take note of that. So let's continue and say the heart is made up. The heart is made up of 4 chambers. The heart is made up of 4 chambers. Like we said earlier, the heart is made up of 4 chambers. The upper chambers are called auricles. The upper chambers are called auricles, and the lower chambers are called ventricles. The lower chambers are called ventricles. The heart is made up of 4 chambers, and we saw them. The upper chambers are called auricles, and the lower chambers are called ventricle. So this is something like this. You can have it. You can have a sketch maybe in your book, something like this. So we have got the chambers. These are the chambers. These are the chambers. So the chambers, we have got the auricles. I've got the auricles. From there, you can do something like this for you to understand it better. This is you can talk of the right auricle. There are 2. This is the right auricle. This is the left auricle. This is the left auricle. So this is the right auricle. This is the left auricle. Then we come to ventricles, the same. Ventricles. I've got the right ventricle. And we also have got the left ventricle. Those are the 4 chambers of the heart. Very, very important and a common question. Make sure you take note of that. So this is the sketch of how it looks like. Now, let's move now and see how the blood flow. How does this blood flow in our heart, in our bodies, and where does it go and how it moves? So that's what we're going to look at in the next. So make sure you have that in your book and have it a sketch. Now let's see, how does the heart move in our body? How does it move in our body? Now, let's look at this chart here. Just observe it keenly and see how it looks like. I'm going to explain some few things here. If you look at these arrows here, they represent the blood. These arrows, they are red in color. They represent how the blood is flowing. They show how the blood is flowing. Now, this part here is this is the lungs, and we are going to see how the blood comes to the lungs. Then this part here, this is the rest of the body parts. So we're going to see how it comes from the body parts and then goes to the heart, forth and that and all that. Now, these are the body parts, all parts of the body. This is how it happens. Number one, the blood gets, just follow the arrows here. The blood gets into the heart. It gets into the heart through the main vein. It gets into the heart through the main vein called the vena cava. This is the vena cava. Through the main called the vena cava. Remember, there's something here that was left. These are the, okay, if you look at the vena cava, they do have what we call the valves, because the veins, all the veins have got valves except the arteries. Very, very important. These valves here helps to prevent the backflow of blood. Remember we said that the veins carry the blood that are under low pressure, which means that this blood is not on high pressure. So the blood is likely to come back. And when the blood flows back, it can cause a problem. So that's why they have got the valves. So since they're in low pressure, it means that this blood cannot flow back. And this one is being prevented by what we call the valves. So once the blood comes from all parts of the body, it gets into the heart. It gets into the heart through the main vein called the vena cava. Through the main vein called the vena cava. From there, it comes into the right auricle. It comes into the right auricle. From the right auricle, it is being pumped downwards. It is being pumped downwards into the right ventricle. The right ventricle will then contract. Once the right ventricle has contracted, it will then push this blood to the lungs through what we call the pulmonary artery. Through what we call the pulmonary artery. Now, once the blood is in the lungs, this blood now has got what we call carbon dioxide. This blood, the carbon dioxide will be removed. The carbon dioxide will be removed here at the lungs. It is where the carbon dioxide is being removed. Lungs is not part of the circulatory system. It only acts as a support organ. Make sure you remember that. Now, once that carbon dioxide has been removed here at the lungs, that blood is filled with oxygen. And now it becomes oxygenated blood. Blood with oxygen is called oxygenated blood, and it is bright red in color, or what we call scarlet. It is bright red in color, or we can also talk of scarlet. That is blood with oxygen. Once carbon dioxide has been removed and the blood is purified and now filled with oxygen, it is then taken into the heart through the pulmonary vein. It is taken into the heart through the pulmonary vein. It comes to the heart, then being dropped to the left auricle. After that, it is being dropped again to the left ventricle. Now, this left ventricle now is the one now that will pump the blood again to all parts of the body. You see, it will pump the blood again to all parts of the body, through what we call the aorta, and that is why again the arrow is coming on this side. Are you getting that? Now, you might ask yourself a very common question: why is it that this left ventricle is thicker than the right ventricle? This is because the left ventricle pumps the blood to all parts of the body, while the right auricle only pumps blood to a shorter distance. That is from this part to the lungs. But now the left ventricle has got thicker walls because it pumps blood to all parts of the body. Is that okay? So make sure that you take note of that. It pumps blood to all parts of the body. That's why it is thicker than the right ventricle. So we can write blood from all parts of the body. Let's put it down. Blood from all parts of the body. Blood from all parts of the body. All parts of the body gets into the heart. Gets into the heart, through the main vein, called vena cava, Make sure you take note of that. Through the main vein called vena cava. It then drops into the into the right auricle, and later to the right ventricle, right ventricle. See, from the right ventricle, the blood is pumped. The blood is pumped to the lungs. The blood is pumped to the lungs. Through the pulmonary artery. This is what pumps the blood to the lungs. Through the pulmonary artery. In the lungs, carbon dioxide is removed from the blood. Carbon dioxide is removed from the blood. The blood is then purified. The blood is then purified. And mixed and filled with oxygen. That blood is now filled with oxygen. To make or form oxygenated blood. Oxygenated blood is blood with oxygen. That is, it is now blood with oxygen. It is bright red or scarlet in color. That's the color of oxygenated blood. Blood from all parts of the body, do not have oxygen. That blood doesn't have oxygen. Blood from all parts of the body do not have oxygen. Blood from all parts of the body do not have oxygen. It is deoxygenated blood. It is dull red. In color. The last thing that I want us to write is the right ventricle has got thicker walls. The right ventricle has thicker walls than the left ventricle. The left ventricle has thicker walls than the right ventricle, because they pump blood to all parts of the body. They pump blood to all parts of the body. to all parts of the body. That's that. Make sure that you take note. Make sure that you take note of that. Now, if I can just take you back a bit, when you visit the hospital, the doctor will want to know your pulse rate. How does he know your pulse rate? The doctor uses what we call a stethoscope. He takes it and puts it on your chest like this. Then, after putting it on your chest, he listens to it from the ears to know how your heartbeat is. That instrument is called a stethoscope. The doctor uses it to know how your heart beats. It is called a stethoscope. Now, having said that, I believe I know and understand that you've gotten the points well. So make sure in your own time you read the notes, you go through your notes, you study them very well, and I know if you do that, you'll be in a very good position. You'll be in a very good position to answer many questions in the heart. And don't forget that all arteries, I'm repeating it, all arteries carry oxygenated blood except pulmonary artery. All arteries carry oxygenated blood except the pulmonary artery. All veins carry deoxygenated blood except the pulmonary vein. You can write it down. Now, I want you at your own time to answer a few questions here. Please note them down. Question number one. The heart has dash chambers. The heart has dash chambers. That is the first question. Question number two. Chambers that pump blood out of the heart are known as dash. Chambers that pump blood out of the heart are known as dash. Question number three. Removal of carbon dioxide from the blood is done in the dash. Removal of carbon dioxide from the blood is done in the dash. Question number 4. Give a reason why the left ventricle has thicker muscles or walls. You can either talk of the muscles or walls compared to other chambers. Why? Number 5. Backflow of blood in the heart is prevented by the dash. Backflow of blood in the heart is prevented by the dash. Number 6. The average heartbeat of a healthy person at rest is about dash beats per minute. The average heartbeat of a healthy person at rest is about dash beats per minute. The last one, which when I come back I'm going to discuss, but I want you to go and try and think about it. Which chamber of the heart will receive first inhaled poison, that is A, and B, poison from a snake bite? Which part of the heart, which chamber of the heart would receive, number 1, A, inhaled poison, and B, poison from a snake bite? Make sure that you try those questions, and when I come back, I'm going to discuss that last question. Have a nice time and see you in the next